You're listening to Create Wealth Through Franchising, and I'm your host, Kim Daly. In my 20 years as a franchise consultant, I've helped hundreds of people achieve their dreams of building and scaling franchise businesses to create wealth. The interview you're about to hear can also be found on my YouTube channel, where I post new franchising content multiple times per week. Please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast and to my YouTube channel at kimdaly.tv. Now, enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Daily Coach YouTube channel. Today I have a longtime friend. His name is Nick Sheehan. Nick, welcome to Kim Daly TV.
Thank you, Kim, for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here because you represent so many different sides in franchising. You know, here at Kim Daly TV, I'm all about sharing inspiring stories, spreading the good news in franchising. And, you know, we're coming off of the pandemic. Maybe we're still in it. I'm not sure. And you represent franchising as a multi-unit franchisee in fitness in states like New Jersey. Okay. You represent franchise development. You've sold franchises and awarded franchises, if you will, to all kinds of candidates. And now you've started a company that mentors and develops young franchise brands to become the next big American brand. So you have like every perspective in the industry. And that's why I wanted to have you on my show. So thank you so much for giving me a few minutes. And before we dive into all of that conversation, first I'm going to ask you, the Daily Coach asks every guest one question. But you know what, before we do that, Nick, why don't you just give a little bit of your background from your perspective, just so people can know a little bit about who you are and the brands that you represent and work with.
So I like to say, and I always kick it off by saying I'm all franchising. It's all I've ever really done straight out of college. I was fortunate enough to have a mentor in college who was in franchising, had owned a lot of different businesses, and at the ripe age of 22, got me into franchising by really doing an ink and toner recycling business, which is the most unsexy business of all time. However, I literally knocked on doors selling toner door to door at age 22 and in South Florida in the heat. And I learned to have thick skin, one, and two, but I actually built a real business. We built it to a $500,000 a year business, and long and short it was successful. So we franchised it. And fast forward 5 years later, I had 35 franchisees. I sold the franchises, trained the franchisees, and did everything. And while that business was a small business, it got me into entrepreneurship, but it also got me into franchising, and I love both. So I quickly transitioned there into consulting for about 12 months to figure out what my next big thing would be. And that's where I met St. Gregory Development Group. So I met a gentleman by Jeff Herr and Joe Rhoda. And at that time, they were just starting out. Honestly, they were 2 years into their business. And I joined forces with them. And I was there for 6 years, and I wound up having an amazing run with them. Everything from founding Cycle Bar from scratch, literally, all the way to exiting through TPG. I'm seeing Exponential Fitness grow. So they had founded Cycle Bar. We had represented a brand called Club Pilates, and fast forward 3 years after I was there, we were bought out by private equity, both St. Gregory and the brand Cycle Bar we founded. And we were a full franchise development firm, St. Gregory was. So we founded concepts, we partnered with concepts, and we sold for concepts. And we became the largest franchise development firm in the world, quite literally, and really paved the way for what I think franchise sales organizations do today.
It is so true. To the listeners out there, St. Gregory, all of us owe so much to the mentorship and leadership that Jeff Herr brought to every single one of us. I know my life will never be the same after everything that I got to learn and how I got to grow under his mentorship, and just watching how he did what he did and learning from the absolute best. So that is a very, very fair statement.
I would agree. I 100% agree with you. And so in my 6 years being there, I got a crash course beyond a crash course. I mean, it was truly awesome.
Undergrad, master's, and PhD.
All in 6 years. Yeah, that's right. and I wound up becoming a franchisee. So it was all that combined, which was awesome. And then, at the end of 2019, St. Gregory dissolved. And the reason it dissolved was because Exponential was going to go public and they wanted to bring that team in-house to Exponential Fitness, which now has gone public, and all those dreams have come true, which is pretty crazy to think about. So, and then I formed the Repum Group, which we can talk about, but that was formed in the end of really 2020 or beginning of 2020. Perfect timing, right when the pandemic hit. So, but it's gone pretty well.
Crazy. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Repum, Build 'em, Scale 'em. Tell us a little bit about your new consulting. So you're basically taking what the environment where you grew up and what you learned in, and now you are now the owner of that, correct?
Yeah. So when everything went down with St. Gregory, I was like, all right, what do I want to do next? And I knew that I wanted to stay in exactly what I was doing. It's my passion. So what I learned a lot though through that was ultimately when you take mostly emerging concepts. So I've only really worked with brands that have, they start out with us with, they could have as little as 3 units to 20, but really rarely do I work on a brand that has more than that when we start with them. And there's a lot of different things that have to happen in order to make that brand a national concept and really be ready to go to market. And through all that experience with St. Gregory, we had a lot of good opportunities to take brands to market, some great, some not so great, and some failures, to be honest. That's how it goes in this business, right? But what I learned along the way, the number one thing that creates issues with launching, it's not franchise sales. A lot of people can sell franchises, but ultimately, what a lot of people don't do a good job of is what happens after the sale occurs, right? The opening of the location, the supporting of the franchisee. And really the most important thing is how do they get to those sales figures, whatever the system may generate, that the owners did or the emerging franchisees have done? How do they duplicate that? And I think that's a big missing link. And frankly, it's the hardest thing to do. And most people don't want to put that hard work in. So what I saw at St. Gregory was a mix of all that. And frankly, we were great at some things and not so great at others. We were really, really good at selling. And operationally, we probably could use some help on that front. But we learned a lot through being operators. And so through all that experience, we wanted to build something different. And so what Repum is it's really the 4 pillars that every emerging brand needs in order to go to market. So Brandum is our first division. And that's really our marketing division. I was fortunate enough to bring in a gentleman named Gary D. Jesus, who worked with us at St. Gregory, Chief Marketing Officer, and he's a Procter and Gamble grad and employee, but also a Harvard grad. And essentially, it's what is the go-to-market strategy for a franchisee, and really, what is the go-to-market strategy for a franchisor? It's peeling back that onion and saying, what is it that you have today? And what do you want to be when you grow up if you had 100 franchises tomorrow? And everyone has to be rowing in the same direction, the franchisee, the franchisor. And if that messaging isn't clear up front, it's going to cause problems down the line. So we work on that up front. Our Grow 'em division is essentially our FSO, our franchise sales arm and franchise sales organization. And it's everything I learned from the best of the best at St. Gregory on a foolproof sales process, right? It's a 6-week sales process, bring the candidates through, learn about the concept and see if it's the right fit for them. And I've brought on a really good team around great directors, VPs, and so on to make sure it's done the right way. So that's that division. And then you've got really our Build 'em division. So my partner, Rob Cambruzzi, founded RPM, which is, we relabeled Repum, which is real estate project management. And essentially that helps franchisees not only find the sites, but it also manages the construction process. So once they sign the franchise agreement, then we bring them into that process and really hold their hand until they get their CO, certificate of occupancy. And then the final division, which I think is a big differentiator, is Scale 'em. And Scale 'em is all about, okay, looking at where the brand is today, because one thing I learned that is 100% always the case is franchisor that has 3 or 4 corporate locations, and even if they have a couple franchisees when we sign with them, what they've done to date is not what needs to be done going forward from a standpoint of operationally. Like they've opened corporate locations, they've figured it out over time, but that's not replicatable for a franchisee because most of what they've done is in their head, not on paper, what I typically see. And so without that translation, and I don't say this because it's, the wrong way to put it, but you have to dumb it down and make it dummy proof, right? And what that means is everything has to be laid out, everything that a franchisee needs to do to be successful, so that when they go in and buy a franchise, if they execute on the plan, they're going to be successful. So one of our partners, Jason Ryan, was the president of Mako. He was with Driven Brands for 15 years. He ran a 600 unit chain, $600 million a year company. And ultimately operations focused. He's the opposite of me, which is great. And Rob, and then Rebecca Horowitz, we brought on. She is our VP at Scalem, and she is also a Wharton grad and was the VP of Meineke, and really is she's just amazing. I mean, every time a new brand comes on, she's looking at all their KPIs, all their training manuals, everything, and making sure it's a sound system with strong unit economics, strong foundation to build on, and really strong training, because ultimately that's what it has to be in order to get there. So those are our 4 pillars, and every brand that comes in, not all of them use all 4 divisions, but most of them do, because obviously there's value there. And we try to become kind of that C-level executive team for emerging brands as well, and utilize our resources to help them launch the right way.
Hey, Daily Coach fans, if this franchise sounds like a fit for you, I would love to be your daily coach. Email me right now for a totally free consultation at inquire@kimdaly.tv.
Don't you just want to know what brands is this guy building up? I mean, so Nick, share with the viewers some of the brands that you're currently working with right now.
We have a broad spectrum of different concepts. Most of them are in health and wellness, I'll say, or fitness, but we also have service-based brands. So we work with a concept right now called ISI Elite Training, which essentially is a HIIT-based workout, but it's athletic-based training. So it's a circuit, a 45-minute to 60-minute class, depending on the session. And it was founded about 6 years ago by a gentleman named Adam Rice. And, we started working with Adam 2 years ago. And even in the midst of the pandemic, which everyone would tell you it's impossible to launch a fitness brand in the middle of the pandemic, but I'm proud to say that we've launched successfully, and we have now over 60 territories sold, and we're opening about 1 to 2 locations a month right now. And it's been a great run there. So.
And hey, Nick, Adam was just a guest on Kim Daly TV a few days ago. So
I know.
he shared his story. He's so amazing.
He is.
Yeah.
He's really passionate, and he's a great guy. So that's one of them. Lime painting's the other. Lime painting is a very unique concept in what I would say is very crowded space within franchising, which is the painting industry. But what Nick Lopez kind of founded over 8 years ago now was really a business that would really focus on the high-end home values. So top third home values within a community really just wasn't being focused on. And that niche is so incredible, because what he's been able to accomplish in just a few short years of being a franchisor has been amazing. And so I've known Nick for over 2 years. Actually dates back to when I was with St. Gregory. And he had about 3 franchisees at the time. And now we have nearly 15 launched. And we're about to embark on a big milestone for him, which is 50 territories awarded this month. So pretty exciting there.
The best. Nick wears his heart on his sleeve. I talk about Nick Lopez like every day. In fact, I just presented lime painting this morning to a candidate. So big fan of the lime painting.
And then we go into what I think is one of the most popular industries out there today, which is the med spa world. And yeah, we have a concept called
Just
Forever
want to look
Young.
and feel good.
That's right. Feel younger and look better.
Own one.
Yeah, that's right. It's such a great concept, though. So Forever Young focuses on everything from Botox treatment to IV drips to hormone replacement therapy. They do facials and so on, hydrofacials. So they've got everything that you would think of what someone would want under a roof that is looking to feel better, look better, perform better. And I can't tell you how successful this location has been. I mean, it's unbelievable. I've never seen unit economics around any brand I've ever been a part of like Forever Young. And to the point where they were just on, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank's new business. He was actually on CNBC for his new business, which is called Money Court, which basically is a concept that sounds like there's a discrepancy, but it's basically there was an argument, should they franchise it or should they put more money into corporate stores? So it was really unique. And so it's going well. And we've now about 35 territories sold in 3 months. And we're opening them and they're successful. And so that's another concept we represent.
Did Mr. Wonderful support franchising?
So he did, but he said you should open more corporate stores. But the reason he said that is because of the margins on the business. And he said, it's proven that you should go this route, but franchising definitely makes sense and you should continue down that route as well. He actually swore on his own TV show because the margins were so high. He was very surprised by it. It was pretty cool to see that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, listeners, if you want more information on any of these brands, you got to leave a comment below so I can reach out to you. Keep going. Tell us about more. What else you got?
We've got one called Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping, which Kim, I know you're very familiar with and dear to your heart.
Lance has been a guest on Kim Daly TV, and just today I received this little ditty in the mail, Mr. Lance's first book.
That's awesome.
I'm excited to read. Very good friends with Lance and Michelle Farrell.
And Lance is just a great individual, and he's got a brand. It's very unique for us to have a concept like Farrell's in our inventory because it's a 20-year-old brand, and that's not normal for us. So Lance has a really unique story. He's been franchising Farrell's for 10 years now, has over 50 locations open, and he really wanted to take what he had built and turn it into version 2.0. What's the next chapter, the next 10 years look like? So he brought us on board and we fell in love with Lance and the concept. And real simply, everyone thinks of it as a fitness-based concept, but I don't look at it that way. I look at it as transforming lives in a form of weight loss without focusing on food as the vehicle to get people there. It's focused on fitness-based classes, 10-week challenges in order for people that really, if you think about individuals that would go into an ISI or one of my cycle bars or what have you, they're not going into a FXB, which is what it's called for short. Those individuals are individuals that are scared to go into a gym. They haven't gone into a gym for so long because they really need help. And I look at that client more of like a Jenny Craig client, to be honest. That's who their core focus is. And the transformations that they've done over the years is it's simply amazing. The next one I'll go over is Kiddo Kinetics. So this one's pretty awesome. I've always loved the kid space in general. Children enrichment, I think, is just such a great space to be in, a business to be in. It's a passion play for a lot of people. And it's just a great opportunity. And Kiddo is such a unique concept in that there's a lot of concepts that it's a home-based business, service-based really. But they were able to create something different in that there's a lot of kid-based, camp-based, I'll say, concepts out there where you're hosting some type of fitness-based, class and you're hosting the kids for 2 to 3 hours. But what Kiddos really was able to do is they have about 15 different modalities under one roof. And the founder really looked at it and said, you know what? A lot of kids go to camp, and I know my son's a good example of this. Like I put him in soccer camp once, and my son's 9. And he came home, he doesn't like soccer. And he's like, Dad, you spent all this money on soccer camp and I don't even like soccer. And then you're like, all right, we already spent the money. So you're going, no matter what, you're going, right? But if you had
have fun.
Yeah, that's right. You go and have fun and you keep going, even though you won't have fun. So, but if you had 15 different sports to choose from, he probably would find something he would like. So anyway, that's what Kiddo did, is they focused on that, and they focused on camps, but they also do the private sector. A lot of different private schools don't want to hire a full-time gym teacher. So they'll actually run the entire program for a lot of gyms. And they've just the founder brought on great partners.
It's actually a business to business service. If you look at it like that, it's home based, looking for someone who can go out and partner with schools and charter schools. I love this one, if you can't tell, because it is a low investment. If you get the right owner who's open to kind of driving that activity, but these are going to be reoccurring relationships, right? Once you break into the school, they love the contract that, what you're offering to the students. They're just going to keep working with you year over year over year. Right. And there's
That's right.
really, really low fixed costs, which means big, high margins, which are the Kim Daly sweet spots, which is why I love it so much.
Yeah. And the founder partnered with some amazing franchise people in the industry. I mean, one ones that have created
Amazing
massive
people,
concepts.
amazing people. The founder of Tutor Doctor, not to steal your
Yes.
thunder. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
others, amazing people.
Yeah. Co-founder of 101 Mobility. I mean, it's an amazing team. So great concept there. Really like it. Think we'll do great with it. And the big thing I'd say is that the original location, to Kim's point, it's been in business for over 15 years and has had just success every year. I mean, it's just a very consistent business. So.
And even during COVID, I mean, if your kids are going into school and they're offering gym, their business is still making money, right?
That's right. No matter what. Yeah. It did not get affected during COVID in a negative way. Frankly, it probably did better because of the fact that moms wanted to get their kids out of the house because they were home so much. Yeah. So the next one, which is very unique in the franchising space, which is Elly, used to be called Family Services, but now it's just Elly. And actually, Elly Mental Health is the new term. So one of the things that I've been passionate about too is just understanding, through the pandemic, I think everyone that is listening or sees this could say that someone in their life or themselves have faced some mental challenges through this time, right? It's just been a challenging time to learn about, we don't have connectivity with people and your whole life is up and rooted and changed and kids are home and it's just crazy, right? So, and I think even before the pandemic, mental health has been on everybody's mind. And so we were one of the first concepts to market in the mental health therapy-based business for franchising. So Elly, based out of Minneapolis, founders are just amazing people. They were actually social workers before they started this concept and were working for the government as therapists. And then they realized, at the ripe age of 29 and 30 years old, that they did not want to be a government worker for 30 years and get a pension. So they opted to start their own practice. And it's just blossomed into just such an amazing concept. They've got 15 locations open in the Minneapolis, St. Paul market. And we are just starting to franchise it. And it's just I can't even describe. They have 350 employees. They have the best team I've ever seen from a depth perspective up front for an emerging brand. And so it's really unique in the space.
Hey, Daily Coach fans, if you're inspired by this conversation, I invite you to email me right now to explore this franchise opportunity. My email is inquire@kimdaly.tv.
For those health professionals out there that want to get out of a W-2 job and work for themselves and maybe have translatable skills or an industry that you know something about, this is the first of its kind. But I also presented Elly this morning to a candidate who has none of that background, but she has a heart to really help people. She was looking for a business that adds real value in the community, where she wasn't babysitting employees, where she would be creating jobs for people that are professionals, where she could be a semi-absentee CEO working on her business rather than in her business. And those are really the characteristics that attract the investor to that idea in an industry that, in good times and bad, is always going to be needed and wanted.
So true.
Love Elly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We just had our first meet the team day. I was literally in Minneapolis yesterday and we had 5 candidates there. And it was just, they were all, to your point, they all had a passion. None of them had the background in it. One guy was a Navy SEAL. I mean, it's crazy what type of individuals we're getting, but they all had the passion for helping people. And that's that's the common ground there, I think.
And you know why? I mean, look, a military guy knows the post-traumatic stress disorder and the need for services transitioning back to civilian life. I mean, he probably sees that. And, where I live in, in New England, and there's a huge drug problem up here, and the need for services like this that help people, behavioral and addictions and, things like that. It just, the need for it is endless. It doesn't even matter where you live. It's endless. So another really good opportunity. And that's the kind of franchise that, like, people don't roll out of bed and go, yeah, I want to own a franchise. They think of, Jersey Mike's, or Orange Theory Fitness. They're not thinking, wow, I could own a mental health practice, that's a real professional's business. So that's the kind of thing that needs a consultant to tell its story. And so excited to have that in my inventory. And with Nick and his team and the amazing people behind it, I mean, guys, this is why I have a business. This is why I have Kim Daly TV, to share these stories, to kind of break through those myths and those limiting beliefs that people have about what franchising is, so that you can really find an opportunity that goes way beyond the traditional food and retail that we all think franchising is when we're just a consumer.
And last but not least, we have Alloy Personal Training. So everyone would say it's another fitness concept. I would say different. And why I would say it's different is they focus on a niche that most people aren't looking to focus on. So Rick Mayo is the founder, and he's been on the board of so many different fitness concepts over the years. He started his personal training journey over 20 years ago now, and licensed what he does and his concept, Alloy.
Rumor that he was Madonna's trainer, or is it a fact?
It's actually a fact, yeah.
Just a little fun fact about Rick Mayo, the president of Alloy Fitness and founder.
Yeah, so he took all of that experience he had, and really he had over 2,000 individual trainers that wanted his process, and he trained and licensed them to do what he does through that. So then he created Alloy, and Alloy is based out of Atlanta. They've got 3 locations open, a couple franchise locations open now. But really what was different, and the differentiator was, I see it always in boutique fitness where they really focus on, I mean, the reality is the 25 to 42-year-old, 45-year-old, that's the market they go after, and they go after it consistently. But he wanted to go after the 50 to 65-year-old, the affluent 50 plus something really, who's like, I don't want to go into those boutique fitness studios that have 50 people in a room or 30 people in a room. We want to have more personal training, and I'll pay for it. So what he created is a concept that has no more than 6 people personal training at once, and can have more of that one-on-one or 1-on-6 to be exact with the personal trainer, achieve their goals, and really look at, like, you know, what they want to achieve at that stage of their life and what they're looking to achieve and what injuries they might have, and how do you alter the workout based on that and cater it to them. So he's done incredibly well. The uniqueness about this model around the unit economics is, though, you cap out at about 130 members. You don't need more than that. And he's found a way to only, on average, lose about 3% of the members monthly, which is not the norm. And so you really don't have to replace a lot of people. And it's been a really unique concept from that perspective.
Are you guys catching on that here's another franchisor that the Daily Coach is bringing the spotlight to, that cares not just about selling franchises, but about growing these franchises into the next big American brands? There's all different types of opportunities out there, not just the things that you think of when you think of the idea of owning a franchise business. There's things like Elly Services. There's fitness that has a different niche. Here in this one conversation, we talked about fitness that is for the 50 to 65-year-old, and we talked about fitness that's for the Jenny Craig customer, right? The person who's more about the weight loss than the fitness. And we started with Adam Rice, the ISI, which Adam told us the other day in his interview that he's, commonly compared to F45. So that's the Orange Theory crowd, so there's a different client avatar for each brand. And during your due diligence process, it's your job to get into that investigation with the franchisor to really understand who is the customer that you're going after in your business. And do I buy into that? And then beyond that, how many of those customers, like Nick just said, 130 people in a fitness concept, that's all you need? Like, does it really matter if there's like 50 other franchise brands around you when you look at, the total population around a specific studio, and you only need 130 and you're at a max capacity? So these are the kind of things that the Daily Coach is bringing to you in your investigation to challenge your thinking, to help you to get focused on taking you off of your, what I call consumer thinking, right? Which is, oh, that's saturated, or, oh, I don't have any experience in that, and getting you into this investor mindset where we can really think about the owner that you want to be, the role that you want to play, the people that you want to employ, the customers that you want to be serving, And then how many of those customers do you need to make the kind of money that you want to make? Nick, I really appreciate you coming on here today and sharing your amazing story of growing up in franchising. I've shared other stories and asked the question, how did franchising find you? It's not like we all roll out of bed and go, oh yeah, I'm going to be in franchising. It's really franchising finds us in very unique ways. And then we end up staying because it's an industry where people help people, where we get up every day to inspire dreams and change lives. And I know that's why I do what I do. And I'm guessing, Nick, that's why you do what you do with so much passion, correct?
Correct. Could not agree more. It is just, you just find it by accident. And then we always say, Kim, right? Like once you're in, you likely are not getting out.
We are very, we stick together, and it's the camaraderie, it's the connections. I mean, we've all been around each other for so many years now, those of us in the development side, that it's like a college reunion every time we get together. A college reunion for in good and bad ways.
That's right.
Sometimes those weeks can be very long.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, to wrap this up, Nick, as I started the conversation, you've got these cycle bars and you had to go through the pandemic in fitness. I mean, what are your words of wisdom for owners and franchisors the nuggets you've learned during 2020 about yourself and about franchising, the resiliency of the franchise industry, even during a pandemic?
The number one thing I would say is resilience and pivoting. Those are the two words I use often. You've got to know that, you've got to believe in yourself, one, but being a franchisee of Cycle Bar, I mean, look, I have 15 locations. I went from having 15 locations with 350 employees overnight, shutting down pretty much all of them. And I had to furlough every single one of my employees except for 2. So if there was ever a challenge in a business, that was one of them. And had to go through a lot, but 2 things I'd say is having a good franchisor as a partner, and Exponential. And I'll tip my hat off to Anthony Geisler, because the guy is just an amazing leader. But you know what? He looked at it as, look, we're just going to keep fighting through this step by step. And they stepped in right away and said, how are we going to help you through this? And what can we do to get through it together? So as a franchisee on that side of the fence, I'd say having a great partner to work through it with us has been amazing. And then really looking at it from my side of things, just as a franchisee, is knowing how to lead our team that was left and saying, we're going to rebuild and we're going to get this open again when the time is right. Because we knew nothing. I mean, no one knew what was going to happen. But today we sit with all of them back open. They've bounced back for the most part, still growing back, and pandemic's still here a little bit, but it's learned a lot about leadership, learned a lot about really how to get organized and do things better through that time frame, is what I'd say on the franchisee side. And on the franchisor side, the best piece of advice I can give for franchisors is you have to be first and foremost for your franchisees, and you have to have a relationship-based contract, not a contract that you read every line and say, well, this says this, because that's what it's all about. It's like, how do we get through whatever we're going through, a pandemic, a downturn in the business, whatever it is, how do you get through it together? And how do you prepare for that? And I think the Zors that prepare for the worst and know what the plan of action is and be proactive versus reactive wind up being so much more successful, because they did that ultimately.
It's an industry, it's a business of people helping people. That is just the most excellent way to end this awesome and inspiring conversation. For those listeners who are interested in any of the brands that Nick has mentioned today, please leave a comment below or absolutely go to thedailycoach.com and contact me so that I can pre-qualify you. I can check the territories. We can talk about what you're trying to achieve through the business, using the business as the vehicle, and I can figure out which among those businesses might be the best ones for you. It might not be the one that you think you're most interested in, but it could be as well. Thank you, Nick, so much for being my guest today. Until next time, I am Kim Daly, and I want to be your daily coach.
If you found this inspiring, please contact me at inquire@kimdaly.tv. My consulting services are totally free to you. Again, that email is inquire@kimdaly.tv. I can't wait to hear from you.